Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Ann, and today we are going to learn about something that is so cool. We're going to learn about surveys. Surveys are one of my favorite things, and we're going to learn about a really, really big survey, the United States Census. All right, so let's begin. And I'm just going to click right over here. Okay, so today in this lesson, we are going to learn to compare quantities, and we're going to say terms like more than and less than. And we're going to learn about analyzing data and trends. I wonder what those big words mean. Data, trends. And then we're going to learn about the importance of the 2020 census. Okay, so first we're going to look at this vocabulary word. So this word is survey. I mentioned it before. It's something that I love doing. So a survey is when you ask questions to a group of people and then you record the responses. So if you look at this picture here, this woman is filling out a survey and she's marking these answers. Here you can see a population of people filling out a survey and marking the answers. So this is with a pencil. Here she's using a pencil. Here's another type of survey that you can fill out online. So a survey is a list of questions and you get those answers from different people and you start looking and comparing what those answers are. So I surveyed my friends because, boys and girls, I told you I love surveying my friends. I love asking questions. And so I surveyed my friends because I really wanted to know what their favorite color was and which color was most popular. So here I made a little chart. I wrote their names and then I wrote their favorite colors. So we'll go through this chart right now. So Melissa's favorite color is blue. Raquel's favorite color is green. Carmen's favorite color is black. Sarah's favorite color is black. Brian's favorite color is pink. James's favorite color is red. Andres's favorite color is black. Maggie's favorite color is red. Santiago's favorite color is green. And Mary Helen's favorite color is pink. Pretty cool, huh? But you know, looking at this chart, it's kind of hard for me to compare the different quantities of data. Remember, boys and girls, one of our objectives today is to compare and see which, we're gonna compare quantities of data and see which is most, which is least. And this is a little bit difficult for me. So I might have to do something a little bit different with it. Let's see. Okay, so I talked about a vocabulary word, and this is data. So data is spelled D-A-T-A, data. And what it means, the definition is that it's facts represented by numbers. So we take all of that information that was in the chart that I just showed you, and we turn it into numbers because then it's easier for us to compare and contrast the quantities. And after we turn those facts into numbers, we can also represent them using graphs and charts. So here, you've probably seen these at school, boys and girls, these different kinds of graphs and charts. So let's see what we can do with my data because I really think it's hard to interpret. It's hard for me to figure out which is the most popular color and which is the least popular color. So let's check it out. Okay, so I tried something a little bit different. Here I have favorite color, and I listed the colors and I color coded them for you to see. So I have black, green, pink, blue, and red. And here I have number of people. And so instead of writing my friends' names, I use smiley faces to represent the number of times that a particular color was chosen. So here, 3 people chose black as their favorite color. 2 people chose green as their favorite color. 2 chose pink. 1 chose blue. And 2 chose red. So this is a little bit easier to interpret. Now I can start asking questions about my data because I can clearly see the quantities represented. So, which color is most popular? So I'm going to give you a moment. Look at the chart. Which color is most popular? If you said black, then you're correct because 3 people chose black, and I can see it has the largest quantity. Now, which color is least popular? That means not as many people chose that color. I'll give you a moment to look at the graph and see which color is least popular. If you chose blue, then you're correct because only 1 person selected blue as their favorite color. And then we can ask, what are the trends in the data? So trends is another big word, boys and girls, but you've probably heard it before. And maybe you heard it used in an example of a fashion trend. So what is trendy or popular? So trends are something that you see happening in the data. So I could say, the trends in my data here is that 2 people chose green, 2 people chose pink, and 2 people chose red. So that was a common, those were equally popular, those 3 colors. So that's another conclusion I could draw from my data. Pretty cool, huh? So, we mentioned something at the beginning of this lesson, which is the census. And then we started talking about surveys. Why did we start talking about surveys? Well, the U.S. Census is a really big survey, and it asks lots of questions. Here's even a picture of it, and you can see the survey questions right here. This survey is sent out to every household in the United States. Whoa, let me say that again. Every single household in the United States fills out this census. Pretty cool, huh? Now, this is a look at the data collected in the census. So this is our New Mexico data, and I got it from a website called census.gov. There's lots of cool things for kids on there, so check it out. So here is information all about children in the state of New Mexico. So we have information from 2010, the last time the census was taken, and then we have some additional data from 2018, and you can see the change in the data. Okay? And then here is information all about the number of kids who are 8 years old, 9 years old, and so on. And here's information about how people travel to work. So, you might want to try to survey your family. This is a fun activity you can do at home to practice your surveying skills and to collect some data. So you could graph, what kind of pet do you have? You could ask family and friends what kind of pets they have. Here's a really cool one, boys and girls, if you're looking for an activity to do this summer, is you can do a traffic survey and you can graph how many cars, trucks, motorcycles you see drive past your house. So, boys and girls, What I want you to do is remember to conduct a survey and also ask your family and friends if they have filled out the U.S. Census. Thank you for joining us today for At Home with APS. Bye.
Happy Thursday, learners. Today is the last day of our summer series. We have really loved working with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in English language arts. Mrs. Kraft and I have one more day of great learning activities for you, so thank you for being here. Just to remember, we've been studying this week what makes an explanation effective. When you want to explain something to someone, what are ways to make it more effective? Well, we have a short list of ways that can improve how you explain. You can use sensory details, numbers, comparisons, and today we're going to talk about giving examples. If I say you are a great friend, can I give examples why? If I say it's a beautiful day outside, can I give examples why I feel that way? If I say that soccer is the best sport in the world, can I give examples why? So examples make your explanation go further. For today's word study, I'm shaking things up a little bit. Today, instead of word study, we're going to do grammar study. Because grammar helps us give words. It helps us when we are communicating. So we have a grammar study lesson today. You can take notes in your notebook, or you can just follow along. It's time to discuss commas. Commas. Today we're talking about commas. Commas are common. Yeah, meaning you see them often. You can find them at the beginning of letters when it says, Dear Miss Abby, comma. You can find them in large numbers. In the number 7,346,832, there are 2 commas. When you write the date, July 9th, comma, 2020, there's a comma between the date and the year. You also put commas between cities and states. Right now, we are filming in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we put a comma between them. These are 4 different ways to use commas, but I have another way that we will look at today. I made a mistake. It says commons in a list. I meant commas in a list. What I've done is I took an excerpt, a small part from one of my most favorite books, Charlotte's Web. In this excerpt, the rat, Templeton, he is gluttonous. He loves to eat. He loves to eat a lot. And he doesn't think he wants to go to the county fair. I'm staying right here, grumbled the rat. I haven't the slightest interest in fairs. That's because you've never been to one, remarked the old sheep. A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at a fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn, you will find oats that the trotters and pacers have spilled. In the trampled grass of the infield, you will find old discarded lunch boxes containing the foul remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. That's a long list. In the hard-packed dirt of the Midway, after the glaring lights are out and the people have gone home to bed, you will find a veritable treasure of popcorn fragments, frozen custard dribblings, candied apples abandoned by tired children, sugar fluff crystals, salted almonds, popsicles, partially gnawed ice cream cones, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere is loot for a rat. In tents, in booths, in haylofts. Why, a fair has enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats. Templeton's eyes were blazing. What's happening in this excerpt? The old sheep isn't telling Templeton, hey, there's a lot of food. Instead, the old sheep is giving Templeton so many examples. When the old sheep says, in the infield, you will find old lunchboxes containing the foul remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different items that Templeton can eat. But then the old sheep goes further. And it says that once the lights have gone down, you'll also find this. You will find a veritable treasure of, ready for this list? Popcorn fragments, comma, frozen custard dribblings, comma, candied apples by abandoned tired children, comma, sugar fluff crystals, comma, salted almonds, comma, popsicles, comma, partially gnawed ice cream cones, comma, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Wow, that makes me hungry. That makes me wish I was at the fair. That is a lot of different items separated by commas. The author, E.B. White, did not put a comma between every single word. The author put it between each new topic. Up here, I have 3 items. Apple, orange, hand sanitizer. If I were writing this out in words, I would say, on the table, I have an apple, comma, an orange, comma, and hand sanitizer. That word "and" is kind of my signal that my list is coming to an end. I want you to add commas to this sentence. First, listen to it. I like baking my pets and friends. Without commas, it sounds like I'm baking in the oven my pets and my friends. Yikes! I like baking. I like my pets. And I like my friends. Those are 3 different items. I should probably put some commas here. What's the first thing I like? I like baking, comma. I like my pets, comma. And I like my friends, period. This sentence is very different. I like baking, my pets, and my friends. It doesn't make me sound like I'm up to no good either. Let's add commas to this sentence. I exercise in many different ways. For example, I like to run, swim, lift weights, practice practice yoga, hike, and bike. True story. I don't like to sit still. I exercise in many different ways, comma. For example, comma, I like to. Now let's think of all the different things. I like to run, swim, lift weights, practice yoga, hike, and bike. That's a long list. I'm giving examples. I like to exercise. Let me show you all the ways I do. Let's add more commas. I have many U.S. states that I want to visit, like Alaska, Montana, Florida, South Dakota, and North Carolina. I would love to visit these states, but without commas, it makes it a little confusing. Commas help us understand. I have many U.S. states that I want to visit, like Alaska, and I'm going to put a comma after like for a pause. I want to visit Alaska, Montana, Florida. South Dakota has two words, but it's one state, so I'll put it after South Dakota. And North Carolina. My list is complete. Now we need to add commas to this sentence. He is a good friend, meaning he is kind, funny, and he's always happy to see me. He is a good friend, meaning he is kind, comma, funny, comma, and he's always happy to see me. This has been a short explanation on how to use commas in a list. Up next, we have a great informational text that is filled with many examples and commas. See you soon.
Welcome, learners. It's Mrs. Kraft, and I'm so happy you had that last session with Miss Abby to learn about where to place commas in sentences. It can be really confusing, I know, so it takes a lot of practice. It also takes reading so that we can see those commas as writers use them. Remember, we're continuing to read as a writer. That means we're reading through the lens of being a writer. Writing is critical. We use it in every single subject that you study, even math, yes. So writing is one of those skills that's going to serve you well, whatever you study. And as we continue to be lifelong learners, we want to make sure that we are using those skills as we move forward. So as Miss Abby said, we are looking at nonfiction texts this week, and we are on our final day. And so today we are looking at examples, hence the commas. So I'm going to share with you a really incredible story about a young lady named Sarah. It's going to sound like a story. However, we all have stories in our lives, don't we? I could tell you a story about things that happened to me. It's true, it's nonfiction, but it sounds like a story. Just like those scar stories you wrote way back a couple of weeks ago with Miss Abby. Those sounded like a story. Remember, we added transitions, we added commas, but they were true. So let's just do a quick review, and then we're going to get into our story that I think you're really going to like. So informational text. Remember, we looked at the lenses. We're on our fourth lens of how we can understand nonfiction text. And nonfiction text is critical in our learning. Almost every book you read in other subjects is going to be nonfiction. Your science, social studies, even language arts and math, nonfiction. That's why we are working on it really hard this week. And I want you to continue, as we end our programming, to read some nonfiction this summer. That's my challenge. All right, so let's see how we were looking at it. We looked at it through sensory details. All those senses that we used, our sight, our touch, our hearing, our taste. We looked at it through numbers. We could understand how our code talker worked through World War II and the years that he spent there. We looked at it through comparisons yesterday with the tornadoes. How can we understand events that we've never experienced? I've never lived in the 1800s, but I love to read about it, and I have to sort of understand. Women wore dresses. Oh, I've worn a dress, so I can compare it to something that I've done. Just like the tornadoes. We compared those to an elephant's trunk coming down, or it sounded like a freight train. Those are things that I understand. And today, we are looking at examples, lists of things that make sense. So we're going to look at a main idea. Today, our main idea is our wonderful lady named Sarah and how she worked very hard to keep Thanksgiving alive. And then we're going to look at some supporting details, because you're going to find out in this story that Sarah did a lot more things than just keep Thanksgiving alive. Curious? Join me as we start our story. Our book today is called Thank You, Sarah. It's written by Lori Halse Anderson, and it's illustrated by Matt Faulkner. It's published by Aladdin Paperbacks. You think you know everything about Thanksgiving, don't you? How the Native Americans saved the Pilgrims from starving. How the Pilgrims held a big feast to celebrate and say, thank you. Turkey, pumpkin pie, cranberries, the works. Well, listen up. I have a newsflash. Did you guys see some examples in that one? Maybe a little hard to see here, but we have turkey, pumpkin pie, cranberries, commas, 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 as we list them. We almost lost Thanksgiving. Look at that picture. Didn't know that, did you? It's true. Way, way back when skirts were long and hats were tall, Thanksgiving was fading away. Sure, the folks up in New England celebrated it. They'd roast a turkey and invite the relatives when the harvest came in, but not in the South, not in the West, not even in the Middle Atlantic states. More and more people ignored the holiday. And in New Mexico, where are we? In the United States. Southwest, right? That means that maybe we weren't celebrating it. Thanksgiving was in trouble. It needed, dun dun dun, a superhero. No, not that kind. Thanksgiving needed a real superhero, someone bold and brave and stubborn and smart. I want to stop right there because the author used a trick here where she didn't use commas, did she? Miss Abby talked to you about lists with commas. Look at her device that she used. She used and. So that kind of hits her point home a little bit more than even a comma would. Bold and brave and stubborn and smart. Interesting. Thanksgiving needed Sarah Hale. Now I know what you're thinking. She doesn't look like a superhero. She looks like a dainty little lady. Never underestimate dainty little ladies. Sarah Hale was every inch a superhero. Not only did she fight for Thanksgiving, she fought for playgrounds for kids, schools for girls, and historical monuments for everyone. Do you see that list? That has our commas, right? Here's another one. She argued against spanking, pie for breakfast, dull stories, corsets, and bloomers and bustles, and very serious things like slavery. That, my friends, is a big list. Let's look at that. She argued against spanking, pie for breakfast. Oh, I love pumpkin pie for breakfast. Dull stories, corsets, and bloomers and bustles, and very serious things like slavery. Wow, she did a lot, didn't she? As if that weren't enough, she raised 5 children, wrote poetry, children's books, novels, and biographies, was the first female magazine editor in America, published great American authors like Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Edgar Allan Poe, and composed Mary Had a Little Lamb. How did she do all these things? Look at our list. That's a huge list. She was bold, brave, stubborn, and smart. And Sarah Hale had a secret weapon. A pen. Remember what I told you about writing? See, here's where we find out why. When Sarah saw something she didn't like, she picked up her pen and wrote about it. She wrote letters. She wrote articles. She wrote and wrote and wrote until she persuaded people to make the world a better place. Nothing stopped Sarah. Does she look busy to you? Sarah Hale loved Thanksgiving. She wanted the whole country to celebrate it on the same day. When folks started to ignore Thanksgiving, well, that just curdled her gravy. It's Thanksgiving. Do you know where your turkey is? She picked up a pen. Sarah wrote letters, thousands of letters, thousands, you guys, asking politicians to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. She wrote articles, asking her readers for help. The women of America listened. They put down their babies, their hoes, their skillets, and their washing. They picked up their pens and wrote. When the letters arrived, the politicians listened too. One by one, the states officially made Thanksgiving a holiday. But that wasn't good enough. Sarah Hale wanted the whole country to celebrate together like a family. She went to the top. Sarah wrote to the president himself, Zachary Taylor. He refused. Did that stop Sarah? What do you think? Nope. No. She waited for the next election and wrote to the new president, Millard Fillmore. Guess what? He said no too. Did that stop Sarah? No. She was bold, brave, stubborn, and smart. Sarah wrote to the next president, Franklin Pierce.
Wouldn't a national day of Thanksgiving be wonderful? No, Pierce grumped. Something I want to point out as a device that this author continues to use is she keeps making a repeat list, right? She keeps saying, bold, brave, talented, and smart. Bold, brave, stubborn, smart, with our and in the middle. Comma, comma, comma. But repeating that phrase really makes it stick in our mind. Sarah penned an elegant letter to President James Buchanan. She gave all the reasons why America would be better off if everyone gathered on the fourth Thursday in November to give thanks. President Buchanan disagreed. He had other things on his mind. It was a busy time in our country. A lot was going on. So we have a list at the top. Abolition, no slavery, union, states' rights, secession, pro-slavery. So a lot of things going on in our country as Sarah was trying to get Thanksgiving declared a holiday. Sarah felt like the stuffing had been kicked out of her. Everything was going wrong. America was at war, the North against the South. States had promised to celebrate Thanksgiving changed their minds. The country was falling apart. It was a bleak and scary time. Did that stop Sarah? What do you think? Nope, no way. Nothing stopped Sarah. Superheroes work the hardest when things get tough. She picked up her mighty pen and wrote another letter, this time to President Abraham Lincoln. America needed Thanksgiving, now more than ever. A holiday wouldn't stop the war, but it could help bring the country together. She signed the letter, folded it, and put it in the envelope. She wrote Mr. Lincoln's name and address on the envelope and stuck on a stamp. She mailed the letter. She waited. And she waited. And then, do you recognize that president? Look at all that's going on in this picture. We have the post, the guy bringing the mail, running through. We have fighting on both sides, and we have Abraham Lincoln on the top. A lot going on there, and a lot about the history of our country. Lincoln said yes. Lincoln said yes. The nation gives thanks. In 1863, President Lincoln made Thanksgiving a national holiday, a day for all Americans to give thanks together. It took Sarah Hale, did you add them up? 38 years, thousands of letters, and countless bottles of ink. But she did it. Nothing stopped Sarah, that bold, brave, stubborn, and smart lady saved Thanksgiving for all of us. Let's take a look at just this page. Lots of lists going on here. So we have, she did, thousands of letters, countless bottles of ink, 38 years, 38 years. We have a but here instead of an and this time, so it kind of stops our list. She took her this long. She did this. She used this. But we have our little and right there. She did it. So that sentence is really powerful because we have our lists, our commas, and then we have the statement that the author continues to make. Bold, brave, stubborn, and smart. So that continues to ring it home, continues to show that Sarah doesn't give up, that she is going to fight for what she believes in. And in doing so, this author, as we read this through the lens of the writer, we can see that device that is used throughout the story. It's a good one to keep in mind as you continue to write. Thank you, Sarah. And then we have way to go, Sarah. That is a big Thanksgiving meal, isn't it? So I wanted to just give you some quick history on Thanksgiving and how we celebrate it in our country. And you may be thinking in your mind how you celebrate it at home. In fact, I bet right now you could make me a list of the things that are served on your Thanksgiving table. And we may bring in some turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes and gravy, but we may also be adding some of the things that our culture celebrates too, right? We may be bringing in some red chili. We may be eating tamales. We may be eating some of the things that are really special and dear and delicious to us also. But you can make a list of all of those things that you eat for Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving, we celebrate today, is based on the harvest by the Pilgrims in 1621. But the Pilgrims did not invent Thanksgiving. Did you know that it was celebrated all around the world for centuries? That's a new fact. I didn't know that either. Historians believe that the first Thanksgiving in North America took place in Florida in 1513. Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon declared the Day of Thanks after he crossed the Atlantic. Wow, so Thanksgiving goes all the way back to the 1500s. So you think about Sarah and how she worked for 38 years to get Thanksgiving brought back as a national holiday. That's a little blip on that time since the 1500s, isn't it? So I want you in your minds to think about how you celebrate the day, but also as you continue to work this summer, when you're reading, I would challenge you, as I said, to read some nonfiction. Think about how you can write about it and describe it in our lenses that we've used this week. So again, I challenge you to go out into nature and see a ladybug or see a grasshopper. One jumped on me yesterday, and I was like, whoa, but it's really interesting little critters. So study them gently and see if you can write about them using your senses. Challenge yourself to find a book that uses numbers for nonfiction. Then challenge yourself to look at one that uses comparisons. See if you can find some similes and metaphors in the stories that you read. And finally, see if you can challenge yourself. I'm giving you a lot, right? See if you can challenge yourself to find a book of examples or make some lists this summer as you're doing some fun things. Helps us to write, right? Miss Abby's going to come up next and share a writing project with you. I want you to know that I've really enjoyed this summer with you. Remember, our episodes are on YouTube, so if you've missed something or you want to read the stories again, go back and listen and watch them. Please keep reading, learners, and I'll see you soon.
Hi there, writers. Today, we are going to be learning about another famous American. Just earlier, Mrs. Kraft read about Sarah and how she saved Thanksgiving. I have another amazing woman, Katherine Johnson. Do you know who Katherine Johnson is? Katherine Johnson just recently died. She died at 101 years old. But that's not what makes her amazing. Well, that is amazing. But if you notice, this is the NASA website. Katherine Johnson was one of the first females to ever work at NASA. She was also a Black American at a time when not a lot of Black American women were working in high pressure jobs. But they needed her at NASA. They absolutely needed her and her mind. She was an engineer who was able to calculate such complex math problems that she was an important member of the team to actually get the first American spacecraft into space. Yeah, they needed her. She's pretty amazing. I recommend look on the NASA website. You can learn more about Katherine Johnson. When we are writing, it's important to do your research first. So I have already read all about Katherine Johnson. Our focus today is using examples. So I want you to think about how we can make her more than just an engineer. Yes, she is a famous American. Yes, she is an American hero. But even more so, she lived 101 years of fantastic life. So I want to try and capture some of that in my writing today. As always, I have my writer's notebook ready to go. In my writer's notebook, I've taken some notes from this page that are going to help me compose my written explanation. Whoops. I'm going to explain how Katherine Johnson is an American hero. I have my writer's notebook here, of course. And here's my note page. I'll even zoom in a little bit more. Here are a few things that I wrote down. Her name. She was born August 26, 1918. She died February 24, 2020. That was just 3 months ago. She died at 101 years old. I had to look it up, but the word for someone who lives over 100 years, centenarian, kind of sounds like a veterinarian. Centenarian means 100 years or more. Her calculations helped NASA. That was one of the things that made her most famous. She won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She inspired a whole movie. It's called Hidden Figures. You can watch it to learn more about her. She was a mother. She had 3 daughters. She was a teacher, and she was a trailblazer. That means someone to do it for the first time. It's hard to be a trailblazer. It's hard to be the first person to do something, but she did it in many different ways. So now that I have some information on Katherine Johnson, this is kind of like a list. I want to explain more about Katherine Johnson using examples. And this is a great way to begin. Look at this. I'm going to use this text. And I am going to change some words to fit my new topic. This book is about Sarah. I'm going to write about Katherine. You think you know everything about Thanksgiving, don't you? How the Native Americans saved the Pilgrims from starving, how the Pilgrims held a big feast to celebrate and say thank you, turkey, pumpkin pie, cranberries, the works? Well, listen up. I have a news flash. I love that phrase. Well, listen up. I have a news flash. We almost lost Thanksgiving. I'm going to use this for my explanation writing. You think you know everything about Katherine Johnson, don't you? That's exactly how I'm going to start. You think you know everything about Katherine Johnson, comma, don't you? Question mark, and then these are called ellipses. How, and so this is where I'm going to give some of my facts about her. How she was born in 1918. That's one fact. Oh, I'm sorry. This author puts ellipses in. How, and then it gives another fact. How she raised a family three daughters, a husband, comma, the works. Now, I'm going to take this line from the book. Well, listen up. I have a news flash. Well, listen up. I have a news flash. And this is where I'm going to give my most important information. Katherine Johnson is an American hero. This is just my introductory paragraph. It has lots of excitement, lots of punctuation, but it's meant to grab your attention. You think you know everything about Katherine Johnson, don't you? How she was born in 1918, how she raised a family, 3 daughters, a husband, the works. Well, listen up, I have a news flash. Katherine Johnson is an American hero. Born in a segregated state. Young, Black Katherine heard a lot of no. But did that stop her? No. Katherine went on to American fame as a NASA engineer. I'm going to keep going with more examples of how Katherine Johnson really impacted our country to be an American hero. I hope you are writing at home too about different American heroes or about Katherine Johnson. We've loved learning with you. Thank you so much, learners. Thank you for being with us at home at APS.